ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. I'm Aabir Lahiry. You're watching ABP Live Podcasts. Joining me today in conversation is Lakshmi ji. How are you firstly?
I am wonderful.
We'll be talking about something very deep today, something which I've been talking to a couple of people today only on the podcast, and we have actually spoken about this. Dalit reservations, Dalit rights, and coincidentally I'll be talking to you about that, but the entire conversation will be around this. You're the managing trustee for Bharatiya Yuva Shakti Trust, which actually deals with Dalit rights. And April, this is we are recording on 29th of April, right? 29th of April. कई बार मेमोरी च्यवनप्राश कम खाने से मेमोरी थोड़ी सी वीक हो जाती है. This is 29th of April 2024. April apparently is Dalit History Month, and it's a perfect time to have this conversation to have a more deeper look into the issues pertaining to the community. Firstly, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
How do you see the main challenges faced by the Dalit community in India in the current context, especially in 2024 as we are sitting here?
Aabir, just to give you a broader perspective on what we do, I am the founding and managing trustee of BYST, Bharatiya Yuva Shakti Trust. We cater to the needs of young people who may have an idea but who don't have the ability to make that into a practical reality, namely to set up an enterprise, and we've been doing this for over 3 decades.
Okay.
The Dalit community is certainly an important aspect of the youth that we reach out to, as are women, as are other challenged communities. And I must say that when it comes to finding jobs, what is more important for young people today than to find a job? When it comes to finding jobs and therefore becoming self-employed as one way of becoming, perhaps the only way nowadays of getting a job, the Dalit community, as in youth in general, face a lot of hurdles. As you know, again, there is a lot of speculation and controversy and all that about data, particularly in the last 10 years or so. But we are very data driven, and we like to know who we are addressing, what we are addressing, and how big the problem is. Definitely one of the statistics, like say from CMIE, says that more than 45.4% of youth are unemployed today. And 2/3 of them are educated unemployed. And we talk about the Dalits, their unemployment is 1.2 percentage points above the national average. I mean the national statistics of unemployed. So you can see that the hurdles are quite high.
And especially in a society where the caste plays a very important role in determining a lot of things, this becomes more and more important for them to be employed, right?
I would say, I would like to put it in a broader term, because if you look at this 45.4% unemployed among youth, and we call ourselves a country where the demographic dividend of youth is supposed to be one of the glorious times in India.
Sure.
So the tragedy is of the massive scale of youth unemployed. I would say within that women, I mean if you look at that, women are 5 times, statistics for women is that the number of people who are not employed, not in training, not in education is 5 times higher for women than it is for the average, than for the male counterparts. So whether you talk about caste or whether you talk about gender or whether you talk about transgender today, you can slice and dice it by any number of by any of these kind of the way you categorize different communities. But ultimately all young people today in India are facing this huge challenge of unemployment. On the one hand, we keep legitimately proud of the unicorns that we are creating and so on and so forth, but if you're talking about jobs, if you're talking about rural areas, if you're talking about communities who are underprivileged to begin with, and then they have additional issues, I would say that the scale of the problem is quite high among all communities now.
How do we solve that? That's a big concern. Because if you see, we are sitting in the mid of the entire election election
Correct.
season. It's like the biggest festival
Yes.
in India.
Yes.
Opposition is just putting up questions each and every day on the matter of unemployment. The global statistics are actually worrisome because they are concerning, because they say
Very
that
much so.
India's youth is actually unemployed.
Yes.
The government says no, these are just statistics. We have our own ways. We are providing jobs, this and that. But how do we actually counter the problem, the hard problem of unemployment? Nobody has the solution to it. What do you suggest?
Yes. It is not as if this problem cropped up in India in the last 5 or 10 years even. Mm-hmm. It has been a systemic problem. True. In 2003, when BYST celebrated its 10th anniversary and we began our program in 1992, we published a white paper along with the then Planning Commission because Atal Bihari Vajpayee was the Prime Minister. He had come to our program along with the Prince of Wales, from whom I got originally this idea. So we presented a paper where we said 1 crore young people were looking out for jobs every year. Today the statistic, though not in that level of depth and detail, because there were household level of data coming from NSSO and so on, even though we don't have that equivalent today, yet all estimates show that anywhere between 2 to 3 crore young people are coming into the workforce looking for a job. So the problem is not something that cropped up on us or that crept up on us just recently. Also, when I started this in India, I had taken a program from the UK and brought it here, and now we are in 50 countries. Okay. So a similar model to what we are, and I had personally gone to Brazil, to Argentina, to all the countries to set it up. So if you look at globally, the youth unemployment is a challenge in every country, in Europe, in Latin America, in Asia and Africa. Mm-hmm. So I would like to put India in that context. So rather than, sort of dispute as to whether we have or we don't have, yes, we do. And there is no way to avoid admitting that, because that is the global issue also. True. So then if you look in that context, and then you ask, so what are the others doing? How bad is the problem in India compared to the others? First and foremost, in terms of numbers, with 1.4 billion people, and then you talk about 900 odd people, a million people who are there in the, who are of that age group, and then you're talking about 45.4% unemployed. Naturally, globally, our numbers are much higher than in the rest of the world. But then again, if you ask what is the solution, which is what you asked earlier, how are others looking at it? More than 2/3 of all jobs created in America, and has been for a while, is from small businesses. So
the SMEs.
From the SMEs. If you ask, for example, take a simple statistic, Unilever, Hindustan Unilever, has a yearly revenue of 58,000 crores. You know how many people they employ?
No, handful.
21,000 people. On the other hand, by Niti Aayog's own statistics, in the handicraft sector, the overall yearly revenue is 32,000 crores, but they employ 6.9 million people. So obviously, you know where the jobs can be created. But having said that, if you look again at the statistics, over 75 years of India's emphasis on small-scale industry, the 99% of all MSMEs are micros in India, and on the average they employ only 1.7 people.
Oh man.
So
1.7
people, they barely are self-employed, and they manage to they are subsistence enterprises. So it is not enough to say we are going to create startups. It's not enough to say that we are going to put money into it. What kind of money, what kind of support, how much, where and when is altogether important to make this micro enterprise dynamic and to create jobs. So are you looking to the government for creating jobs? No, obviously, globally, including India. Are you looking at large enterprises? No. The tech industry laid off 200,000 people globally. If you take the top, the Facebooks and the Googles and so on. So then, if you're saying, okay, small businesses, but then you ask yourself, is small business really creating the jobs? You have been doing this for 70 years, 75 years. So far, you've not really cracked that code. So what we need to do is to find a way, and that's what we in BYST have been demonstrating over the last 30 years. what are the ways in which you can support the micro entrepreneur in such a manner that he or she becomes sustainable, they become productive, they create assets, they create jobs for others, and they have potential for growth. That's what's needed.
Makes sense. I have a counter question to the first statement. It's not, since you mentioned that it's not the job of a government to give out job. Correct me if I'm wrong.
No, that's not what I said.
Okay,
I said government are not creating jobs internally in the government sector.
Okay, but that should be the case, right?
Absolutely. Every government's policies is the role of the government. Actually, I think it's a good public-private partnership.
Yeah,
where
sense.
The government, the private sector, and the civil society and the youth should all be coming together.
It should be a collaborative.
Absolutely. The government has got a huge role to play because they need to first size the nature of the problem. They are the best ones to get data. Then the second thing which they can do, of course, is to listen to what the grassroots challenges are. For example, there is a ease of doing business indicator for big businesses, and everywhere globally you say India is 200th or 50th or 40th or whatever, these numbers vary. We are trying to create a ease of doing business for rural enterprises and for micro enterprises because their lot is quite difficult.
Yeah.
And therefore the government definitely can assist in something like that, can work together to create that, and also find out what are the type of hurdles and what is needed.
That can be actually a really good indicator, or like a new indicator.
Absolutely.
Ease of doing business for the rural.
We've been doing many surveys on a smaller scale within our NGO.
And what are the results?
And the results are not
that great.
Not that encouraging in general. Because if you see, close to only 44% people know what it takes to even start a business. And if you take the SC/ST for a comparison, only 28% know. Then only 28% know how to be able to apply and get a loan. But only half of the SC/STs of that 28% know how to even apply for a loan. So if you don't know what it takes to create a job, if you don't know how to get that loan, and if you don't know how to get some assistance and guidance and mentoring, how the heck do you, then you become this subsistence-based micro-enterprise. And the subsistence-based micro-enterprise
which
is
will
really
employ only 1.7%.
1.7 people if you're lucky, otherwise most of them are even self-employed. And the thing is, these are what we call necessity entrepreneurs. They didn't become entrepreneurs because they refused a job in Goldman Sachs and they came out of IIM. They refused a job because they either create a job for themselves.
That's a lender of last resort. They didn't have any other option.
Yes, they have no other option. Either they become an entrepreneur or they starve. So in some sense, it can be a motivator. But having motivated them, let us please support them.
What are the main hurdles which you see on a regular basis?
Okay.
Especially
again, another survey that we did, 85% of the women in the survey we did said they don't get access to bank loans. 85%.
But why so? Because collateral
and security is one. But having said that, you do have statistics that says a mudra loan up to 10 lakhs is supposed to be without security.
Without security, right.
Do you know what the average loan size of a mudra loan is today?
50,000?
A little less than that.
Oh man.
Somewhere between 40 and 50. It all depends upon what this is. They say 43, 48, etc. But it doesn't matter.
That's sad.
You know what it needs. If you want to support a young entrepreneur who will be able to create a little bit of assets with what you give them, so that they can create a sustainable business, they can then employ a few people, use that initial capital to grow, go out and use that track record to borrow more. So you want a business that is able to generate its own track record and generate its own revenue, as well as borrow on that and grow, right? We find that somewhere between 3 lakhs to 5 lakhs is somewhat the minimum that you need in an urban area. I mean in a rural area. And in an urban area, you probably need somewhere between 7, 8, 9 lakhs. It doesn't matter, it depends on whether it's a manufacturing or a service. Now what that does is, for every entrepreneur we have supported with that kind of money and with money, markets, mentoring, the 3 M's, what we find is that these people create on the average 10 direct and 40 indirect jobs. So 50 jobs are created for one entrepreneur. And some of our entrepreneurs who borrowed as little as, maybe 10 lakhs, 15 lakhs, have gone on within 3 to 4 years, they proved and gotten 1 crore loan from the bank. Now, if you talk about micro enterprises at that level, not undercapitalizing them, giving the right amount of capital, then supporting them with some amount of mentoring and marketing, then you're talking about the ability of small enterprises to create jobs. And that globally seems to be the solution.
So you guys act like a venture capital fund for these
We are not
people?
a venture capital fund. We have proven that venture capital is something that comes and goes. And also venture capital will, by and large, angel investment, think that $100,000 is a small amount of money, and that is kind of the minimum they will do. Most venture capitalists look at 5 million, 10 million, 15 million also.
True.
We are talking about the rank and file way in which an ordinary micro entrepreneur can survive. So we are not doing something different from the norm. So we are taking these entrepreneurs, we are counseling them, training them, helping them develop a business plan, taking them to the very banks that refused them before, but because they've had this kind of a support, they go to the bank. Almost every entrepreneur we refer to the bank, close to 95 to 98% get the loan.
Oh wow. That's a good number. That's a very good number.
And we have partnership with the top 12 public sector banks.
Very good.
And what we are trying to again show is not that we ourselves as BYST going to address the entire country's problem, but we are showing, hey, this is possible. There are track records of crorepathi's, there are track records of many of our entrepreneurs who have won international awards beating out 49 other countries. Two of them came with me to The Hague, Netherlands just last year to get the award. 2 of them are coming with me to Nairobi this year for another, because they've been chosen. Some of our entrepreneurs have gone to Colombia, Cartagena, they've gone to Hong Kong, they've gone to Mexico, they've gone to Scotland.
I'm thinking of starting something for myself.
Every single one of them have gotten awards.
I'm thinking of starting something on my own.
Yes.
If you want, I can fly out of India and visit something else. Some other country.
That just shows that all these entrepreneurs and these young people are asking is just the basic ingredients.
Yeah.
They are not asking you, we don't give them concessional rates, by the way.
Okay.
We give them the same market rates that everybody, they would have to face to. We are not giving them any subsidies. We are not asking the government for any subsidies. We are saying we need to provide the right ecosystem.
Yep, that makes sense.
And if you do that, it's in everybody's benefit.
What kind of communities do you deal with? There are Dalit communities, there are...
we deal with what we say underprivileged young people
Okay.
in urban and rural areas.
Okay.
So that has taken us to over, whether it's Uttarakhand, Jharkhand, Orissa, tribal areas of Orissa, as well as urban areas of Maharashtra, and Tamil Nadu. We have gone to Rajasthan. There is over 12-15 states that we have already been in, plus we have done the work. I'll give you an example. In Assam in 2012 when we went there, the NPA from the SBI Bank, the State Bank of India, the non-performing asset there was 40%. So for amongst
that's a
amongst
big
them,
number.
yeah, it's a huge number.
It's a huge number.
When it comes to micro, I don't know what the recovery rate exactly is being quoted for in terms of mudra and so on. It kind of varies depending upon where you talk about it. But having said that, most banks, why do they restrict the amount of loan they give? When you go and ask them for 4 lakh, they'll give you 40,000. When you go there and ask them for 40 lakh, because they want to limit their exposure, because the NPA is so high. If their NPA was not high, then if you ask for 4 lakhs, there is no meaning to give you 40,000, because if you wanted to buy a few sewing machines for 4 lakhs and you got half a machine for 40,000, you're not going to be able to start anything with it, right? So going back to this example in Assam.
They'll be sewing half t-shirts, I feel.
Yes.
Or you order for a t-shirt, they'll give you a crop top.
Or they will make a t-shirt for themselves.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Self-clothed, that's it. Nothing else.
Makes sense.
But the point is that if you're going back to the example of Assam, within 3 years we had created 1,000 entrepreneurs and their NPA was 4%. So SBI at that time, the chairman, the regional chairman of the Northeast ended up becoming the chairman of SBI and signed an All India MOU with us, because he said, wow, if you can bring it down in the Northeast, you can help me solve my NPA problem.
That's a good case study, by the way.
Yes, it is. And at the then Chief Minister Tarun Gogai had told us, oh, this model will work very well in Maharashtra and Tamil Nadu and Andhra and so on, Lakshmi. I don't know how much it's going to work. And 3 years later, when we showed him the 1,000 entrepreneurs, he was jokingly saying, these are my Assamese, these are my young people who become all these, bright young entrepreneurs, and some of them were exporting within those 3 to 5 years.
And what kind of business do they do?
The businesses were...
Handicrafts?
No. I'll tell you, if you want to know the kind of business, best is to go by examples.
Okay.
This Dalit woman, Asha, in Hyderabad. My father died, usual story, was very difficult, passed out of high school, tried to get a job, got something at subsistence level. And then she was very, she was very aspirational. So she tried to go to college in the evening and so on. So she had gone to various banks, usual story, people didn't give her anything. But what she had an idea was, she had worked as one of the entry level in some company which was making the non-stick, cooking vessels.
Cooking vessels, okay.
Without any water, without any oil kind of thing. Without even water. That was the particular coating that she was doing. So she told herself, but this is very expensive, this is all coming from Germany, can I do this here? Imagine her thought process. Again, necessity is truly the mother of invention, and women is the actual, the leading group when it comes to invention, I think. So she came to us and we thought it was a very good idea. See, that's where it begins. We have mentors sitting, talking to the entrepreneur when they come at the very first stage. Nobody is saying, how much do you have? Do you have a house? Do you have a land? Can you... First thing, that's not what we are asking. What is your idea? Why do you think it will work? So we took a chance on her. We thought she had a good idea. And today, her turnover is close to 1 crore. And she has given jobs to over 190 people.
Wow.
Direct and indirect combined, and she's exporting to Germany.
Wow. Wow.
The very place that she came from.
Very cool.
Okay, so that tells you the kind of places that we go to and what we do. Another example is Niranjan. Again, in this case, he happens to be a Dalit youth. As I said, we are not exclusive to that community. But because we are talking of Dalit Month, these are very proud people. He's the one who won the international award and came to Hague in last year.
Okay.
He beat 49 other countries.
Wow.
Okay. So what did he do? He makes hardware and software to simulate the a racing car in terms of the way you operate the pedals and the brakes and so on and so forth. Now, the little piece of hardware, they attach it to a laptop, it did come and does come from China, but it tends to be very flimsy and it gets broken.
Okay.
So he redesigned that with local materials. He redid the software that's attached to it. He came to us in 2020 at the height of pandemic. Today he is exporting to close to 12 to 15 countries, and his turnover is close to 1.5 to 2 crores.
Wow.
Now, what is it that these people got, and what? It's not as if Asha was somebody who has come through a some kind of a competition and she was the highest in share. She was just someone who was looking to do something to engage herself productively. Niranjan had this idea even when he was studying in a rural college somewhere in Maharashtra, hinterlands of Maharashtra. He had gone to his professor. The professor said, my God, I don't know what the heck it is. He'd gone to a bank, and the bank said,
we have no clue what this
is. And so what it means is the lack of the ability to guide and mentor at the college level. The next touch point is the bank level. At each of these levels, if you hear and know, for 3 years, it's Niranjan, we must hats off to him that he didn't give up.
Your motivation goes for a toss.
Yes, and he came to BYST because he had heard through a friend. And then we gave it to him. So I think if the components are right, our young people have got a tremendous capacity and capability. Just because we see them, competing with their counterparts from the other parts of the world and keep winning awards. There's a guy who's never really, Swapnil, who's never seen the inside of a plane. He got chosen among us the top 3 to come to Cartagena, Colombia. This was in 2019. I was telling Swapnil, do you want to come with me so that we can go together? He said, no madam, don't worry, you're going from Delhi, I'm coming from the rural areas of Maharashtra, I'll go via Pune, Bombay and all that stuff. I said, do you know how to go alone? You neither speak English nor Spanish in any, in fully. So mostly, in fact, he doesn't even speak Hindi that well, it's Marathi.
Okay.
The next thing I know, he had taken the plane from Pune to Bombay to Amsterdam to Bogota to Cartagena. And when he landed there, he was in complete cheer. I had landed there very tired. And I had forgotten to take exchange my money at the airport, foolishly thinking I'll go to the hotel and exchange it. But that's not what Cartagena is about in Colombia. So when I went there, the hotel said, no, this is Sunday, this is that, Monday, whatever it is, and then we don't know how to change it.
And so that fellow is offering you, take this US dollar.
No, he told me, ma'am, give it to me. That the next day was Monday, and he said, give it to me. I said, again, you don't know English, you don't know Spanish, how are you going to do that? And within 1 hour, I got all my money, exchange and all that. That's an entrepreneur.
Super. That makes sense. You're also working with the queer community.
Sorry?
With the queer, with the transgender
Yeah,
community.
we work with the transgender community. We work with, you see, for us, ideas is ideas. Entrepreneurship is entrepreneurship. And the more in need you are, the smarter you become in terms of overcoming hurdles. So for us, it's all about when we look at 100 people who come to us saying that, we raise awareness, let's say. Ultimately, 5 become entrepreneurs. But out of that 5, each one creates 50 jobs. So they have hired back that 100 people plus more. So it's not about what is the point in giving everybody a small amount of money, making them self-reliant, and then them not become sustainable, giving jobs to hardly themselves or 1.7 people. Find the entrepreneurs, give them the right kind of resources, and they in turn will turn around and engage all those other people. So we find that when we go to local areas and find this talent, local people create local jobs with local products for their local communities.
And we'll see this less exodus of people moving into metro cities.
Not exodus of metro cities, and even more important, it becomes environmentally sustainable.
Yeah.
So you're talking about circular economy. This is the way in which to create that circular economy.
That makes sense. What's the plan? What's the plan in future?
Plan is quite ambitious.
Okay.
Because the fact is, while it might have taken a long time for us to demonstrate it, the very fact that we in India have become the role model, and I'm one of the founding members of creating this network for 50 countries, and every year we are adding new countries. I must add one point here though. We keep talking about mentors in a very casual manner. Creating mentors in order to support the entrepreneurs is the other side of the coin. One side of the coin is to find the right entrepreneurs, other side of the coin is to create and find the right mentors.
True.
Now, where are these mentors? It's not as if you can be a mentor, for example. All you need to do is to have the belief, the desire and willingness to do something for the young people. So what we look for is people who are ready to volunteer, but we are also now taking these mentoring to institutionalizing it and putting it into the major frameworks of institutions in India.
Like a Skill India kind of a thing.
Well, it is, I will put it slightly differently. What we are looking at is, I'll give you first how we do. When we go and ask to Rotary clubs and Lion clubs or industry associations and all, like CII or Chambers of Commerce, and we say who would like to be a mentor, then we take them and we train these mentors and we accredit those mentors internationally. We create a cadre of mentors. Think of it as like a National Cadet Corps, like an NCC. We are creating a national cadre of mentors. And the reason is, it's not as if anybody you can grab them and say, oh, this is an underprivileged people do that. We give importance to the kind of advice that goes to the underprivileged person. So this person must be not only qualified in knowing the subject, they must know how to talk to the underprivileged.
If somebody has an expertise in aviation, they should be the correct person to...
It's not even the expertise after a point, because these are small businesses starting in it is the right attitude mindset.
Makes sense.
Just think of it. They are on either sides of the railroad track, so to speak. One is underprivileged, one is more privileged, one is of more from a different community, maybe the Dalit community. Many of them may not be. You're also talking about mentors who have a higher education, lower education. In every way you think, you'll find that they have this thing. It's a privileged community. Now, how do you talk to them such that If you go and talk down or you think you're going to teach an entrepreneur, you will kill the entrepreneur spirit, and sometimes the entrepreneur just disappears.
Very well said.
Okay. So what you really need to do is to be able to talk to them at their level, respect them, but support them. And that means...
And to bridge that emotional gap.
You have to bridge the gender gap, you have to bridge the economic divide, you have to bridge the social divide, and you have to bridge the age divide.
Right.
Because very often the youth and the mentor. So we take a lot of effort into creating that cadre of mentors, training them to think in the right way, and we have collectively brought them into a network.
I would love to be a part of this.
Please do. We have over 20,000 mentors around the country, the largest mentoring network in India, which is dedicated to supporting underprivileged entrepreneurs and micro entrepreneurs.
Very cool.
Having said that, we said, well, look, what is 20,000 going to do? We need 2 lakh mentors, or probably more. I'll tell you why 2 lakh mentors. You asked for the vision. Every one of our mentors is able to help over a period of lifetime at least 5 entrepreneurs. Every entrepreneur creates 50 jobs. So you're able to create 50 million jobs by just creating this mentoring network.
So,
of course, you have to have the banks to support that and so on and so forth. So now we are going into ITIs, polytechnics, and training those trainers as mentors. We are going to district industry commissions, and we are trying to train those the government officers as mentors. We have even trained SBI branch managers, we have trained Indian Bank branch managers. So we are saying every touch point should have somebody with a mindset and a skill set to support them.
To recognize the talent, to support
recognize the talent, very well put. To recognize the talent and to respect that talent. And to say that all I have to do is to give that kind of a hand holding, this person is pretty much going to do on their own. So many of our entrepreneurs have become mentors. Yes. That is the proof that these entrepreneurs are not just takers, they are givers. And when you talk to the mentors and say, is it all about you helping someone? Very often, you know what the mentors told us? I learned so much by doing this. I took it back to my own SME supply chain and I was able to apply it. So there is a real there's a real amount of learning for the mentors also.
Even a CEO can even learn from an intern, I guess.
We have executives from Tata's, we have executives from Bajaj Auto, along with MSMEs, along with the rural mentors, along with our entrepreneurs who become mentors. So a whole range.
Makes sense.
In fact, we have even started a program where we go to the B schools and tell the students, hey, one of your project is to mentor somebody. You are learning skills that you wouldn't learn in your coursework, and guess what? You are helping a young person. So we call them student mentors.
Makes sense.
So mentoring really can become a movement in this country. Do you know in America they have 30,000 mentors. We've already reached 20,000, but of course their population is much smaller. But they give mentoring. Mentoring is not for Silicon Valley. It is not meant for your unicorns. It is meant for every mainstream small business in Tennessee or mainstream in Alabama. That is the way they look at it, as from the grassroots. And I think that concept of our Guru Shishya Parampara is something that we have had as a tradition.
Yeah.
All we need to do is to bring that 5,000-year-old tradition and apply it to 21st century India.
Makes sense. Makes complete sense. I guess on that note, it's I would say thank you very much for having this conversation with me, because it actually has broadened my thinking. मतलब मैं अभी तक जो सोच रहा था employment कैसे generate हो सकता है, now I see the multiplying effect.
Yes.
How it can actually be implemented in the rural setup of India, and that can create a multiplier effect.
Yes.
It is not a immediate solution to it. It's a long run game, but it needs a due.
I would challenge that lightly, because we wrote an article just before the Karnataka elections. Everywhere we are saying, do mass entrepreneurship today. Make it a part and parcel of your employment policy at the state level and at the national level.
Okay.
I think we can transform within 5 years.
If that happens, nothing better than that.
No, because this is not something where we have to come up with the original ideas, and
True.
the ideas are there, the
There.
banks are there, the mentors are there, the institutions are there. You just have to equip them.
You don't need a new infrastructure. You just
don't
need a
need
mindset change.
Please,
Change in mindset.
no more infrastructure. No more. All you need to do is to divert and make sure that the resources are going at the right place with the right time. Perhaps you do need some skilling of the mentors.
Agreed.
The entrepreneurs, I think, are already a lot skilled. I think what they need is a chance and an opportunity. So I think it's a very doable, and it needs to be done now. Every election, for every state that goes to, we are pitching it to them and saying, please think of mass entrepreneurship as your gateway to supporting young people.
That makes sense.
Yes.
बहुत shukriya for having this conversation. It
Thank
was
you.
lovely to have this chit chat with you. Thank you very much, Lakshmi ji. Thank you.